The castle had a bug problem, but only Spike seemed to notice. He was up every day at dawn, adorned the full bug fighting gear, apron, gloves, boots, a mask over his mouth, various cleaning supplies clipped from his belt, including industrial strength soap he had ordered from Canterlot, and about 10 sanitary sponges, wrapped in plastic and ready for use. 2 full cans of bug spray in each hand. Spike was ready for battle. First, he attacked with the bug spray, stunning the little pest with some quick bursts from the can. A few more carefully timed bursts, and the bug would roll over, its tiny little legs curling towards his belly. A painless and humane death, as the supplier of the spray promised. Then Spike would toss the deceased little critter into a plastic bag he had on hand, and the bag itself would be disposed of later. But first Spike had to sanitize the area, and that is where an array of cleaning supplies came in. He ripped one open of his sponge packets, pour a small amount of specially formulated soap on the spot, and scrubbed until the floor shone. Starlight was the first to notice Spike's weird routine, with the other ponies gone so often. Of course, she was the one to notice Spike's bug hunting adventures, even though she didn't want to get involved with that stuff that didn't concern her. Starlight felt inclined to approach Spike and ask questions. Are you alright? She asked. Spike was busy scrubbing at a corner, the aroma of soap heavily in the air, and there was 3 plastic bags littered around him, each filled to the brim. Spike barely took his eyes off his work and he answered. Bugs, he mumbled. Starlight frowned. She didn't even remember the castle ever having a bug problem. It was pretty clean most of the time, mostly disagreeable to insects from what she had seen. However, those plastic bags didn't lie. Starlight could see them, crammed in with insects that she'd never seen before. Huge beetle-like creatures with unusually long antennae and silvery dark bodies. Spike had dispatched quite a few of them before Starlight even woke up. She picked up one plastic bag and examined its contents. Her frown deepened. She'd never seen bugs like this before. For one thing, they are massive, much bigger than any other beetles she'd seen near the Everfree Forest or around Ponyville. The plastic bag only fit about 5 of them in. Given the nearly full wastebasket at Spike's side, Starlight couldn't imagine how many of them he already dispatched. "What are these?" she asked. Spike shrugged. Truth be told, he didn't care what they were or how they had gotten there. He just wanted them gone. Normally, he didn't have a problem with bugs, but these particular ones made him anxious. They seemed to be crawling all over the castle every morning, indicating some kind of infestation. Starlight returned to her bedroom, taking the bag with her. Spike didn't seem to notice. On the 4th day following what Spike suspected was an infestation, he started noticing the holes. They were small at first, scarcely bigger than a claw. He then saw them in various spots all over the castle, sometimes at eye level and other times above feet over his head. When Spike poked a claw through, he saw the hole went all the way through the wall or floor. They were all perfectly round, and some kind of them were evenly spaced, as if whatever had made them had been trying to create a pattern of some kind. Spike instantly knew it was the bugs. What else could have made those holes? It seemed like the bothersome little critters ate crystal. That explained why there were so many. Another unsuspected downside of living in the Crystal Castle. Spike was practically livid. Around the time he started noticing the holes, started to see even more bugs. He used to see one at a time, but suddenly they were appearing in clusters. He had to change up his tactic a little, often using both spray bottles at once. Spike was running out of ammo fast, and more bugs appeared at once. The faster his supply went, his output of bug spray increased from a bottle every 2 days and 2 bottles every day. Spike would have started buying the cheaper stuff from the store in town, but the local kind seemed less effective. In desperation, he appealed to Applejack. At her suggestion, Spike mixed together some of the Apple family's special weed killer and some cans of less effective bug spray. The smell was horrendous, and it caused Spike's eyes to water, but he loaded it onto the empty spray cans anyway. He could tell it was going to work, before he even tried it. This was powerful stuff. No bug in Equestria would have withstood it. However, the infestation only got worse as the days went on. Spike's special bug-slaying blend was effective in every instance, but the bugs just kept coming. He tried to plug up the holes they made, but to no avail. No matter how obsessively the bug-proofed castle, they always found a way in. In fact, his efforts seemed to be attracting them. The amount of holes steadily increased, while the bug problem rapidly spread. Starlight would often see Spike wandering around in the dead of night, spray bottle in each claw. He'd just wander around, muttering to himself as he checked and rechecked every place in the castle he had sealed up. Occasionally he'd seen a bug, or at least what he thought was one, and pounce on it with the bottle. Starlight wondered if Spike was getting his recommended hours of sleep. Was it just Spike, or were their bugs getting bigger? Suddenly he could only fit 1, 2, or 3 of them in one bag, as he had to buy the bags in bulk, just to make sure he had enough for every day. He was having to empty the wastebasket a lot more frequently. Spike was losing count of how many bugs he had disposed of since the infestation had started. Twilight didn't seem to notice anything. She once did admit she'd seen things a few strange bugs, but the sightings were so infrequent that she thought nothing of it. Other than Starlight, Spike appeared to be the only one who realized the actual scale of this infestation. After 2 weeks, Starlight was sure Spike wasn't sleeping. At the very least, he was only getting out about 2 or 3 hours a night. He was neglecting his cleaning duties in favor of chasing after those bugs. Starlight saw him at all hours of the night, chasing what she presumed to be the last of the strange beetles. The beetles were definitely bigger. By the end of the second week, Spike could only fit one of them in each plastic bag. The beetles were also becoming more invasive, or maybe it was Spike's imagination. He had awakened in the middle of the night. He convinced that he felt one crawled across his chest. He was starting to have vivid dreams in which he'd wake up choking on them. He'd lunge across his bed and open his mouth, vomiting strange brightly colored liquid and beetle parts onto the floor of his room. Then Spike would actually wake up and realize he had been dreaming. But he always been in that weird taste in his mouth. Every time he saw a movement out of the corner of his eye, he assumed it was a bug, but more often than not, nothing was there. However, the overall amount of bugs hadn't decreased. He was just seeing larger groups of them at once, demanding more of them into a precious bug-destroying formula. Twilight had told him to start getting more sleep, but she was too busy to actually make sure she did. Her and the others were constantly leaving friendship missions, leaving Spike to his own devices. Spike started dousing parts of his bedroom in the Apple family's special weed killer. His entire bedroom reeked, but he was certain that the smell was still keeping away the bugs. He was still seeing less and less of them in his bedroom, but getting more and more of them everywhere else. At least the nightmares stopped, but Spike started to get headaches, most likely from the smell. After about 2 weeks of this, Starlight knocked on the door of Spike's bedroom. There was an old book floating above her head, alongside a bag containing deceased bugs she had taken from Spike several days ago. Starlight hadn't seen Spike since yesterday. She had been a little worried at first, but a quick look around had reassured her. She hadn't noticed that it seemed to be no bugs in the castle. She had gotten used to seeing them, and the holes they made, that she was taken aback a little bit. Whatever Spike had been doing, it seemed to have worked. The castle was completely bug-free. Finding it unlocked, Starlight pushed the door open and headed inside. She had a cheerful smile on her face. "Hey Spike," she said. "You know those bugs you've been seeing? Well, I think they might be..." She froze her eyes falling on something that lay in the middle of the room. The smile fell from her face at the sight, her stomach giving it unvoluntarily large. It took all of her willpower not to empty her stomach all over the floor. The smell hit Starlight first, a sickly sweat aroma, choking out the otherwise overbearing scent of weed killer. Spike hadn't been messing around. He essentially saturated his room with the stuff, treating the walls and furniture into a generous coating of it. The bed remained untouched, although Starlight was sure Spike had sprinkled some between the sheets. But the bugs were everywhere. On the walls, the floor had turned into a writhing mess. Massive beetles covering almost every surface. Only a few spaces on the floor, which one Starlight was fortunate enough to be standing on, were untouched. Starlight could hardly distinguish furniture from the carpet. Her eyes started to hurt just from looking at a continuously past shifting mass. Spike's bedroom had become, however, although itself was unsettling, that it wasn't made Starlight wanted to vomit. It was the lay in the center of the room that was making her stomach churn with disgust and horror. Starlight only caused a glimpse of it before she returned and bolted, slamming the door behind her. The image was already stared into her brain. The image of Spike, laying there, all of the holes of the pink hive structures protruding from his open belly, the steady stream of beetles pouring from his gaping eye sockets, and a mouth torn open into a ghoulish false grin. A nest. The beetles had turned Spike into a nest. What's up, my pretties? It's the Lion Queen here. I want to appreciate you all for tuning into this video, and I do appreciate you guys supporting my video by giving this video likes and stuff. If you really enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like, comment and subscribe if you're new, ring the bell for notifications to when I upload so that way you guys will get updated for whenever I upload. If you want to follow me on Twitter or DeviantArt, feel free to leave a follow on those if you are interested in following me on those socials. If you want to support my backup channel, known as Miss Dark Shigo, feel free to subscribe to it, as a link to that will also be in the About page section. And with that being said, and that being the case, thank you so much for watching, my pretties, and as always, please stay pretty.